come from an academic background. I also come through a medical school background, is that they gave us some money to do professional development. And I thought, even though the technology is coming, I really want to learn the art and craft of speaking. So I ventured forth and joined the National Speakers Association of the US. And that's where I sort of got very actively involved in the art, the craft, and then the business of speaking. So that's where I started my career in terms of speaking. So one that immediately comes to mind is Mark Scherenbrock from Minnesota. Oh, he approaches the craft in such a meticulous, precise way. And everything is moving toward the emotional impact, the intellectual impact, so that hopefully then it's a change impact. And so I love how he approaches his craft and does that. Another individual that I love is Brian Walter, again, a past president of the National Speakers Association. And he's so creative and he's so thoughtful and he just connects so well. So those are two individuals right off the top of my head that and I admire their work. I admire their ethics. I admire how they approach people. And what's so nice is they're the same on the stage and off the stage. And that's really important to me because there's that, they're real. There's congruity there. When we went into the sheltering, I'd love to read. Probably more on the voracious side. And I went out and got all these books because it's like, I am ready to read. I don't think I could read a book cover to cover for at least the first 6 months. It shocked me. And then I realized that what was happening is that so much of now our interaction, our learning was on our in my case, laptop or your monitor. But for me, it's my laptop seems to be my primary source. And all of a sudden it's like, again, because there is action, I could be looking at people, I could see them act, I could go on to find YouTube videos, or I could find other videos out there to learn stuff, is that probably from a brain perspective, it's like, it was a heck of a lot easier just to kind of watch it than to go get a book and then make sure my focus was very intense. And then and this is in the backdrop of then the worry or anxiety. How long will this happen? Do I need to get out to the store to get some toilet paper? Do I need, the crazy frenzy? And so I think it became easier just to kind of like, well, I'll just stay with my laptop, or then maybe in the off hours, I'll just do something mindless and binge watch, on television. And so that changed me. And then I realized I have to claw back the reading, the focus, or for me, then I modified. It's like, okay, my learning can still occur on the laptop, or again with TV, with the smart TV, downloaded onto the smart TV, and trying to pay more attention to what was the content that I was consuming, because I know that that's going to change my mind, and that try to direct it a little bit more. So that's what I've tried to do. So I'm much more purposeful now in the information that I'm watching or viewing or consuming. That's changed a lot. Yeah, let's go with that one. That's the big one, because that's the learning. That's sort of my brain. I mean, there's all kinds of other things. One other one that I did is Monday through Friday. So again, I use kind of the traditional work week concept, is that I have to walk. So I'll do a minimum of 4 to 6 miles each one of those days, and a good pace. And that's my time. Just again, I can get outside, and where I walk, there's not a lot of people around, so I don't have to worry about masks. And so, but Monday through Friday, that was I have to take care of my health. And that then for me, I know That helps my mental health because when I walk, I just let information come in and out. I think about stuff. I design programs. I see myself as being a brilliant presenter. All the things that we do when we let our minds kind of go. So that one's huge. I mean, I have a whole list of them, but we'll stop there. Those are two big ones. The main thing I'm going to be doing is first taking the principles, the ideas, the research that's coming out of neuroscience, brain imaging, and behavioral science, and working on how do you translate that into very practical ways. So one area that I'm exploring right now is bias and looking at it from a neuroscience. Another area is what do speakers need to know what's going on in their own mind as well as their audience's mind? Because as you know, sometimes we just get out there and we say all this stuff. And I will continue to research my stuff. So one of the things I've added, I rate all my programs. So I rate them similar to the movies. They could be a PG or they could be R or they're X rated. And so now I'm thinking of putting an expiration date on them and starting to think in terms of this content or this information is good for a certain amount of time. And then after that, and again, it's going to force me to keep updating it, but it's going to be showing this is what's kind of new and what's out there. Because as you know, we've all seen presenters, speakers, leaders, managers, they're saying stuff 20, 30 years ago. It's the same stuff they said 20, 30 years ago. And you're like, the world's changed significantly. And there's not, in my opinion, there's not too many things in the leadership world that has the same, what would you call it, weight as maybe some of the science. Gravity's gravity, but it took us a while to figure it out. But once we did, now you can do variations of it. But sometimes I see speakers and presenters and leaders and managers, they say stuff and I'm like, where's the research? Now I have no problem, hear me clearly, I have no problem that if that was his or her experiences and they're sharing their experiences, that's great. That's one form of research. But as you know, it's sort of N of one research. I would prefer that then people say, in my experience, if you do the following 5 things, these help. But a lot of times they don't put in my experience. They just put, you must do this, 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 and this. And I think, unfortunately, that leads us then to other bias and leads us to conflict. Fail. Just go fail. We know from a neuroscience perspective that fail, because that'll change behavior. It's not something you hear a lot of motivational speeches. Go forth and fail. Yeah, okay. I think it's willingness to try stuff, fail at it, and then you have to stay with it. If you quit, then you're not going to get any of the behavioral change. But if you go at it, it fails, it's not working, maybe I could try this, and that fails. We know that actually failure will increase learning down the road, similar to what you just said in terms of the business leadership. Whereas the strength one, like you said, doing that may or may not. We know for athletes, though, it has a huge impact. Athletes tend to work on what they do best. And if races, let's use racing, if races are decided by thousandths of a second, 10th of a second even, they focus on what they do well. They may spend a little bit of time on other things, but they focus on their strengths. Well, athletics and leadership are not the same. And so the yes, we can, it's probably confirmation bias that comes into play here versus the failures or this isn't working so I would just, my mindset is I'm willing to fail, and it's painful. I mean, we don't like to see ourselves. Is that I can't do it, or that didn't work, because we like this mindset, or we like this persona of, oh, he's a professional speaker, or he's a phenomenal consultant, or he's a facilitator, or he's a trainer, or she does this, and she talks about conflict, and she talks about, and so you have, and we present ourselves, like you say, as sometimes the expert. Again, I'm trying to change my mindset, is that I'm going to try to bring my expertise in a professional manner. I need to set the conditions for learning, but I'm not responsible for their learning. That's on them. I can create the environment. So I'm trying to take some of that pressure off of me, where when I first started, it's like, oh, did they like it? Did I do any? Yeah, you get all the feedback. So I don't know, it sounds kind of weird, but I'm trying to try stuff, and I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to learn. Sometimes it gets me in trouble because I think, well, I can go do that. So I go on YouTube. I learn something and then I fail. But then I try to stay with it until then I start to master it a little bit. Connect more, reach out more, create community. And then this is very personal. I need to continue to focus on understanding why people believe what they believe if it's totally opposite of what I believe. And it's really trying to push the understanding. Now, neuroscience has given me, I think, a much better understanding of that, but not to have the reflex of, how can they be so stupid? Or how can they possibly believe that? Is try first to go, what might have contributed to them believing this? What are the dynamics, so that, and it probably won't change my view in terms of the issue, but hopefully it increases my understanding of humanity and the civility that we seem to have lost if somebody has a different perspective or view. And we, in the COVID time, because again, this control has been ripped away from us, it's easy, I think, to make these quick either or decisions. You're either for me or you're against me, or you're for this or against that. And so that will be part of my journey that's huge, because if we live in our little Zoom boxes here, it becomes even easier, I think, to make judgments about, oh, those people, or oh, those thoughts, or oh, and I want to make sure that I'm not falling into that trap of saying all those people or all those thoughts. So that'll be number one on my list. Because I'm going to make you angry. I'm going to upset you. I'm going to bring stuff. I'm going to talk about stuff in your brain that's going to probably hurt you. Oh, wait a minute. So I think what you might want to do is come hear me, because I want to talk about some of the stuff that's coming out of neuroscience, brain imaging, behavioral science, that will actually give you some ideas of what's going on inside of your own brain, let alone your audience's brain. Because if you violate some of these basic principles, it's going to be a mess in terms of your leadership, your management, your speaking, your presenting. And if you understand some of these basics, I think it will really, really increase your impact as a leader, manager, presenter, speaker.